Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. It was a perfect day at the zoo, or so I thought. The sun was shining, the animals were lively, and our laughter filled the air like a symphony of joy. But as I said, my wife Isabella vanished into thin air while I was explaining to our son Timmy the intricate mating habits of the rare Australian orangutan. Stay here, buddy, I told him, and set off in search of her, a smile on my face, expecting to find her at the ice cream stand, or perhaps ogling the majestic elephants. But life, much like the dung beetle life cycle, has a peculiar way of rolling us into unexpected places. I remember the moment with stark clarity. The sun was setting, casting long, ominous shadows across the enclosures. My heart was in my throat, part worry, part intrigue. I approached the pony enclosure, a place I hadn't considered, a place where no one would suspect an adventure, or rather a misadventure. And there she was, my Isabella, nestled in the hay, her hands not on the pony's mane, but lower, much lower. My world turned upside down, much like how the opossum plays dead. I stood frozen, not knowing whether to scream or laugh. The pony of all things. I whispered, the irony not lost on me, considering how often she had called me her workhorse. My thoughts spiraled. Was it the size, the stamina, or was it something deeper? Some unfulfilled fantasy involving an animal that had no concept of human vows. I approached my steps, heavy heart, heavier. Isabella, what in the world are you doing? My voice cracked, a mix of shock and the ridiculous of the situation. She looked up, her eyes wide, caught in the act but not ashamed. Instead she laughed, a sound so foreign to my ears. In that moment it was as if a hyena had taken over her body. Oh, come on, Alexander, live a little, she said, her hand still stroking the now alarmed pony. The air around us thickened, and I couldn't help but wonder, have I been blind to her desires? Was she seeking something I couldn't provide here? She was betraying me in the most absurd yet disturbingly fitting way, given our occasional visits to the zoo. I stood there, questions flooding my mind. How long has this been going on? Was this her first time? Or had she been grooming this stallion for months, visiting the zoo alone under the guise of jogging or shopping the pony? Sensing the tension, snorted, shaking his mane, almost as if to say, get your wife off me, bro. The situation was so absurd, so bizarre. I couldn't muster anger, only a sense of surreal disappointment. Is this what you want, Isabella? A pony ride of a different kind? I asked, my voice dripping with a sarcasm so sharp it could cut through the thickest gorilla hide. She stood up, brushing off hay from her dress, her face now serious. Alexander, you've always been so focused on work, on providing for our little family, but what about my needs? My wild side? She gestured towards the pony. He doesn't judge, he just is. And there it was, the crux of our marital discord, laid bare in a zoo enclosure with a pony as the unwitting catalyst. The zoo, our family sanctuary, now the stage for our family's destruction. My mind raced, replaying our life together, the missed cues, the unspoken desires, all while standing there, watching her caress the equine. I took a step back, feeling the weight of betrayal and the absurdity of the situation. The evening had taken a turn from family fun to family feud. As I turned to leave, the pony's big innocent eyes seemed to follow me, almost asking what happens now, and truly what did happen now? Could we ever recover from this? Could I ever look at a pony the same way? Or was this the beginning of a new strange chapter in our lives? One where fidelity had taken an unexpected detour into the realm of the zoo. And so, with my heart in my hand and my family in pieces, I left the enclosure. The sun now set, darkness enveloping the zoo, and with it, perhaps the end of our once perfect family life. I stumbled out of the enclosure, my mind a tangled mess of confusion and disbelief. The night air was cool, but it did nothing to clear the fog of shock that enveloped me. I heard the distant laughter of zoo visitors, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding within these very walls. Could this really be happening? I muttered to myself, half expecting the universe to provide some absurd answer. My thoughts were interrupted by a soft snort from behind. I turned to see the pony now outside the enclosure, curiously following me as if I were some sort of lost zookeeper needing guidance. The irony wasn't lost on me here. I was betrayed, yet being followed by the very creature that had in a roundabout way caused this mess. I chuckled bitterly. "You think you can help?" I asked the pony, whose large expressive eyes blinked back at me. "Maybe you can teach me a thing or three about loyalty," I added, the humor bleak but fitting. I wandered through the zoo, my feet taking me past enclosures of various animals, each one seemingly more normal than the situation I was in. The giraffes peered down at me, their long necks stretching high, as if trying to see over the drama of my life. The lions lay lazily, perhaps contemplating betrayals of their own in their roaring pasts. My phone buzzed, breaking the surreal silence. It was a message from her, the one who had turned our family outing into a scene from a twisted comedy. "Where are you? We need to talk." The words were like a punch to the gut. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to disappear into the zoo, perhaps become the zoo's newest exhibit. The betrayed husband. But I knew I couldn't run from this with a heavy heart. I texted back near the gorilla enclosure. It seemed fitting, a place where raw emotions were on display. As I approached, the gorillas were unusually quiet, almost as if they knew what was coming, their silence adding to the tension. She appeared, her face a mix of guilt and confusion. "I didn't think anyone would see," she began, her voice trembling. "It was just a moment of madness. A moment of madness." I echoed the words, tasting like ash in my mouth in a zoo with a pony for everyone to see. "You think that's just a moment of madness?" She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "I don't know what came over me. I am so sorry." The apology hung in the air, feeling as substantial as the evening mist. I wanted to scream, to lash out with the full force of my pain and humiliation, but instead I found myself asking, "What do you want now? What do we do from here?" Her eyes met mine, filled with a plea for understanding. "I want to fix this. I want our family back, but I don't know how." I looked at her, really looked, seeing not just the woman who had betrayed me, but the person I had built a life with. "Do you even love me?" The question slipped out raw and vulnerable. "Yes," she whispered, tears now streaming down her face. "I do, more than you can imagine." The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that weighs down on your ***T, making it hard to breathe. I felt the pull of our shared history, the tug of our children's laughter, the warmth of our home. Yet could I ever unseen what I had seen? Could we ever go back to being just a family? Or was that innocence forever shattered by this act of infidelity with a pony? I stood there, the sounds of the zoo fading into a background hum, contemplating the abyss that had opened up between us. The gorillas watched, a silent audience to our human drama, and in that moment I realized that our next steps would define not just our relationship, but the very essence of who we were, as individuals, as partners, as parents. And just as I opened my mouth to speak, a loud, almost human-like shout erupted from one of the gorillas, startling us both. We turned towards the sound, and for a fleeting moment, our eyes met in shared surprise, a brief, unintentional reminder of the bond we once had. But could that moment of connection be the first stitch in mending what was torn? Or was it merely the beginning of a much longer, more painful process of unraveling? As we stood there on the precipice of decision, the night deepened and the answer remained elusive, hanging in the air unresolved. I took a deep breath, the cold night air biting at my lungs. The gravity of the situation weighed on me like a lead blanket. Here I was standing in the shadow of the gorilla enclosure, confronted not just with a betrayal but with the very fabric of our life together unraveling in the most bizarre yet strangely fitting backdrop. The gorilla's shout had broken the spell, but it also seemed to have ignited something within me, a spark of defiance, of anger, of determination. I turned back to her, my voice steady, but carrying an edge that surprised even myself. "You know, I always thought our love was like the animals here, wild, untamed, pure. But now, looking at you, all I see is a circus act, a farce. My words cut through the silence sharp as the fence separating us from the gorillas. She looked at me, her eyes wide, a mix of guilt and confusion swirling within them. Her response was a whisper barely audible over the rustling leaves and distant animal calls. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I laughed. Then a bitter hollow sound just happened with a pony in a zoo. I shook my head trying to grasp the absurdity of it all. Did you think this was some kind of twisted fairy tale where the princess runs off with a noble steed? Her face flushed not with embarrassment but with a sudden fierce anger. Don't mock me. You've no idea what it's like to feel trapped, to look for escape in the most unexpected places. Escape, I echoed the word, tasting like ash from what our life, our family. I took a step closer, the anger in my voice rising. Or maybe you're just not cut out for the life we've built. For the real messy, beautiful chaos of it all. She stepped back, her back almost touching the fence. It's more than that. It's about feeling something real again, something wild. The absurdity of our argument, framed by the backdrop of the zoo, struck me anew. Here we were discussing fidelity with gorillas as our witnesses, and yet wasn't there a profound truth in this madness that sometimes in the quest for freedom or authenticity, we make choices that are as wild as the animals around us? I took another deep breath, my mind racing. Maybe I started my voice, a doubt, voice softening. Maybe we've both been looking for something wild, something untamed in different ways. You in an affair with a pony and me, perhaps by ignoring what was right in front of me. Silence fell between us, heavy with the weight of our realizations. The night air seemed to pulse with the unresolved tension, with the potential for either destruction or redemption. And now what she asked, her voice small, almost childlike in its vulnerability. I looked at her, truly looked, seeing not just the betrayal, but the person I had loved, the mother of our child, the partner in all my adventures. Now, I said, stepping closer, we decide, do we let this tear us apart? Or do we use it to find our way back to each other, to something real? Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment I saw the flicker of hope, the possibility of healing. But as the zoo lights flickered, casting long shadows, the answer remained just out of reach, suspended in the night, waiting for us to grasp it. The silence stretched on, punctuated only by the distant call of a nocturnal bird. Our breaths hung in the cool air, visible under the soft glow of the zoites. I could feel the pull of our shared history, the years of laughter and tears, and the unexpected turn of events that had brought us here. We can't erase what's happened, I said, my voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of sorrow. But maybe, just maybe, we can build something new on top of the ashes. She nodded, her eyes, glistening not just with tears but with a resolve I hadn't seen before. I've been so lost, she whispered her confession, breaking the last barriers between us. I thought seeking something wild was the answer, but maybe the wildest thing I could do is to stay, to fight for us. I took her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin, the life still pulsing through her veins, connecting us in ways that words couldn't describe. Let's explore this zoo, I suggested, a wry smile tugging at my lips as a metaphor for our relationship. We've seen the beautiful, the exotic, and now the unexpected. Maybe in this chaos, there's a path we've overlooked. We walked through the dimly lit paths, past the enclosures of animals sleeping or stirring in their dreams. Each exhibit seemed to mirror parts of our lives, the majestic lions with their pride, the playful monkeys with their antics. And now us with our complex web of emotions. Remember when we first visited this place? I asked, the memory vivid. We were just kids dreaming of a life filled with adventure. And here we are, she replied, squeezing my hand, still on that adventure, just not the one we expected. The night deepened around us, the zoo taking on an almost surreal quality. Under the moonlight we stopped by the enclosure of the penguins, their tuxedo figures waddling, oblivious to our human drama. But what if we can't find our way back? Her question hung in the air, heavy like the night itself. I paused, looking at the penguins, then back at her. Maybe, I said, it's not about going back but moving forward to a place where the wild isn't an escape, but a part of us, something we embrace together. Her gaze met mine, and there, in the reflection of the moonlit. In the end, the truth unraveled, leaving behind the echoes of a shattered trust. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. We hope you